looking strong for the counter, but if you map the price chart of RIL in quick time, the stock seems to have caved by about 100 rupees plus.
You know, the Reliance is a barometer of the broader market, in addition to the fact that the price reflects its own fundamentals. So clearly, the cave-in is a reflection of the fact that market looks weak, and therefore, as the as a top constituent of all indices, it clearly is taken a beat. So what's the outlook as far as we are concerned? I don't think this is going to be a large outperformer. We don't see the commodity cycle turning massively, all the refining margins for this really making a big change. We have had issues in terms of incremental investment and returns on incremental capital employed for this business. I don't see a big quick turnaround on that front happening. So unless we see a resolution of gas pricing that may happen later after the elections or whenever that happens, so we'll have to wait and see for those kind of triggers rather than expect Reliance to perform just because it's fallen.
Pull up the intraday chart of Maruti Suzuki. That is one stock which saw some reversal coming in during the day. Of course, even yen-dollar pair is making new lows almost on a daily basis. So by trading 0.5% in the lower, the stock actually ended 1% higher. Varun, what's your take on Maruti in this light? Do you think that the earnings cushion and possibly earnings expansion because of weak yen would continue for a quarter or two more, and hence would continue being reflected in the stock price as well?
Well, we are negative on the whole four-wheeler segment for now. I think the kind of volume growth numbers that the companies have been talking about, they definitely don't look encouraging at all. In fact, if you look at the whole auto pack, I think to the exception of SUVs, there is no segment really which is growing. I think companies are finding it difficult to push really the smaller car segment also. I think the currency benefit would be there only to a certain extent, and beyond which the actual corporate earnings will begin to kick in. So we would tend to stay away from the space largely at this point of time.
Sandeep, how would you view a TVS Motor on the charts? Do you think that there is more upside, or it's all been factored in now?
I think too much noise is made about this deal with the BMW. Overall, the chart pattern looks weak. I mean, at a 42, 43, I would talk of a 45, 46. Most of it is factored in is what I believe, and I am not willing to buy it at this level. And there is nothing in the charts. The weekly, monthly charts are absolutely lackluster. So wait for some more clarity.
The private sector bank space has generally turned a little quiet since the Cobra Post expose. Axis Bank, that is one stock which is witnessing more sell orders on a daily basis, and there is buzz on the street that a couple of large accounts may turn or move towards becoming an NPA. Look at the stock now on high volumes. It ended at the lowest point in trade today. Varun, have you looked at Axis Bank? Do you think expecting any outperformance on the numbers side would be expecting too much this quarter from private sector banks and Axis in particular?
Well, I think private sector banking names have been better than their PSU counterparts for last several quarters in terms of asset quality. I think the kind of slowdown that we've seen in the economy, it is impossible that they don't show some slippages in terms of their assets. So I think we are going to see some slippages this quarter. I think a lot of the commentary that we saw in the last few quarters was built on the expectation that economy will start turning around this quarter onwards, and we haven't really seen any sign of that. So I won't be really surprised if we see some slippages coming in even in the private sector space. The price damage has already happened in most of these stocks. Maybe there is still some way to go. So I would really wait before I would buy even in the private sector banking space now.
Pretty frightening, that one on Axis Bank. 1203 is where that one shut shop. But Mr. Bhatia, how do you propose investors should approach the policy end of the market? OMCs, the ONGC, PSU companies like BHEL. How do you think we should look at that sector?
I think as far as energy policy is concerned, we expect a continuation, at least for the next 6 months, of price hikes in diesel, and that itself is a good thing. It will go some way in reducing the interest per cost and burden and the cash and improving the cash flow cycle of all the oil majors. ONGC and BPCL stack up well in that regard. As far as the other policy in terms of capex cycle and so on, and the impact that government can have, I would be very cautious.
Varun, you highlighted a macro indicator which is a softening of crude oil prices, and perhaps till now market has been ignoring that. But look at HPCL and some of the other oil companies. They were gaining in trade today. Do you think there could be some more upside in an HPCL Almost 2% is the kind of move it made. But probably once it starts sinking in that crude prices significantly off its highs, probably funds may start getting back to OMCs.
Well, we have in the last 3 years for the first time turned positive on the oil and gas space now. We particularly like the upstream oil and gas companies, since I think the refining margins still continue to be under pressure. So I would avoid the downstream companies, but I think those companies which are in the upstream space definitely look attractive from a valuation perspective. I think if crude oil prices continue to soften or even stabilize somewhere around $100 a barrel, it will lead to a significant reduction in subsidy burden. Now, as we understand, the diesel subsidy last fortnight was around 8.5, 9 rupees per litre, and it has come down to around 6.5 rupees a litre this fortnight. And I think with the kind of cool off that we've seen in crude oil prices, I think 4.5% last week in rupee terms, it is going to come down significantly. So our sense is that the diesel subsidy could come down to zero far more quickly than what the market is expecting. I think if the government continues with the 50 paisa hike per month on the diesel subsidy, we might end up with zero diesel subsidy in the next 6-7 months. That of course is based on the fact that crude oil prices stays around $100-$105 a barrel and rupee stays around 54-55. So I think in the current market scenario, we find a lot of value in oil and gas companies, and we continue to be a buyer in them.
Okay, that's the call coming in on the oil and gas sector. We'll talk lots more about individual stocks that you need to keep on your radar when we're back from this quick break.
राजन जी, टैंक फुल करवा लीजिए, रेट बढ़ने वाला है। बढ़ता है तो बढ़िया है।
सुनिए जी, ले लेते हैं। हाँ, बाद में दाम बढ़ गया तो?
जी बढ़ता है तो बढ़िया है।
बढ़ते दाम पसंद तो आएंगे ही। राजन जी को magicbricks.com से प्रॉपर्टी में इन्वेस्ट करके फायदा जो हुआ है, magicbricks.com।
A man admired by millions.
Are you aware, Mr. Bachchan, that today you inspire so many people?
A man who changed the way India went to see movies.
I never realized that, I was going to be doing something exceptional or something different or something that is going to change the way cinema is going to be looked at.
A man who changed the game in more ways than one, and then some more. Catch Arnab Goswami in conversation with Amitabh Bachchan, the game changer of the century, on Keep Walking with the Game Changers, this weekend on Times Now.
Welcome back. You're watching the Markets Tomorrow right here on ET Now. Let's get you some stocks to focus on. Poonam Sani joins in from the research desk. Poonam, what are you picking up with stocks on your radar?
Well, the two stocks on the radar is, of course, Shriram Transport Finance. It's a near-term sell on it, as well as TVS Motors, a near-term buy. On Shriram Transport Finance, CRISIL has come out with a very latest report today that the CV loans, the loans to the commercial vehicle segment are definitely under stress. The collection ratio in the CV rated pool has fallen below 95% for the first time in 3 years. So clearly, this segment is under stress, and Shriram Transport has almost entire of the book finance to this segment. 79% of the loans of Shriram Transport are in the used CV segment. Also, if you look at it, the margins for Shriram Transport as well as the spreads have come under pressure in the last quarter, as well as although the gross and the net NPA levels have remained stable, but clearly there is stress, and the stock is down nearly 10% YTD, so clear underperformance on the stock. Next is TVS Motors, and the company and BMW Motorrad have signed a cooperation agreement within which the TVS Motor is likely to produce motorcycles of over 250 cc but below 500 cc, and as TVS Motor has been losing market share and it is an under-owned stock, this tie-up with BMW will clearly help it to gain and ramp up its production, as well as have increase in the revenues and hopefully profitability over the coming quarters.
Thanks very much, Poonam, for giving us those two stocks in trade. But moving on then, Mr. Bhatia, if you could just give us some names for the long term, you know, with the caveat that we will see a lot of volatility, the market may see a 10% downside. Which stocks would you be confident on of a 30 to 45% appreciation?
I think, you know, if one has to look at on a bottom-up basis where we find decent earnings growth. I think decent earnings growth is where we would, let's look at ITC. I think we'll at least see 15 to 20% earnings growth, at least 15% operating earnings growth for the business. So over 2 years, a 30% operating earnings growth is definitely possible. So that's one stock can get you those kind of returns. I'm not even arguing for a re-rating. You look at the pharma sector, we like Cadila Healthcare. We expect earnings to double from 25 rupees to 53 rupees from March 13 to March 15. So in the space of 2 years, there's a potential product pipeline which is coming through in the US which can lead to doubling of earnings. So will it give you a 30% return from here? Definitely. The stock has not done much for the last 2 years. So valuations are decent by pharma standards. So that's something which looks interesting. You look at the Glenmark, there itself we see earnings growth of in the region of 20% for the next 2 years. So we can definitely see 30 to 40% earnings growth coming through some specific stocks where we don't need to look at re-rating, and earnings will itself take you forward.
Right. Varun, from the earnings point of view, going ahead, approaching the market, it's almost factored in that the earnings this quarter also will be weak. But which are the stocks you are watching out for on your radar where there is high possibility of a strong quarter?
Well, I think the pharma sector comes right at the top. I think we would expect a 15 to 20% kind of earnings growth for the space as a whole. There are a lot of companies, especially the ones in the contract research and manufacturing space, which will post very strong earnings. I think 15 to 20% earnings growth is definitely possible. Plus, there is added benefit of rupee depreciation. So I think this is one space which we continue to expect the strongest set of earnings for the next few quarters.
And finally, Sandeep, what would be your top money-making technical picks for tomorrow?
Well, I would talk of the next few days. I have a buy in Arcom. Probably that target could come in tomorrow. Buy with a stop loss of 65, target of 71. Play for a 7-8% upside. The second one is a buy in a Hind Unilever. Stop loss 474, target 492. This is over the next couple of trading sessions. And the third one is a sell in Bank of Baroda. Stop loss 660, target 640.
Okay, thanks very much for giving us those technical trades. And with that, let's also thank all of our three experts, Sandeep Bhatia, Varun Goel, as well as Sandeep Wagle, for taking time out and joining in on this edition of Markets Tomorrow. With that, it's goodbye from Ajay and me. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you same time tomorrow.
Change can be many things. For the brave, the courageous, the righteous, the ones who believe that suffering injustice is as wrong as perpetuating it, change is a weapon. For the wronged, the victimized, the exploited, the ones who cry for justice, change is a friend. For the forward-looking, the optimists, the brave hearts, the ones who always see the glass half full, change is hope. For the evil that resides among men, for the corrupt of heart and soul, for the darkness that brews in their hearts, change is an enemy. For the driven, the crusading, the compassionate, the believers in right over wrong, change is power. In every corner of the country, we have been many things to many people at many times. But for those who believe in this country and everything it stands for, to them we will always stand for the power of change.
Shopping ka dream? Just log on to Infibeam.
Best price always. Infibeam.com. Shop with a smile.
Very soon, analog cables will cease to exist.
switch to Videocon D2H before it's too late. Enjoy maximum Asli HD channels and an unbelievable number of channels and services on Videocon D2H.